to do is share with you a couple practical ideas. What are some things you can actually do to help that sales manager coach and have that conversation with his or her salespeople? I find that there's a lot of salespeople, a lot of managers out there that don't know what to do. They're successful salespeople. They're going out there, now they're becoming a manager. They just don't know the process of how to do that. So I'd like to share with you a process that's worked in over 100 countries, all kinds of industries, no matter if it's a big company, small company. And it's a process that gives you the flexibility that they can coach to the person, coach to the deal, whatever it might be. This process has several steps. And the first one is to prepare. It's amazing how many managers I see that shoot from the hip, just like a lot of salespeople shoot from the hip. And they show up and they're really not prepared for that particular person and coach to that person and not just in general. It's the environment. It's a trust environment. Have I thought about not just the numbers, but why that person is doing what they're doing? In the 5 steps, number 1 is ask. To ask questions about not just their goals in business, but what are personal goals. Why do they want to be in this business? What do they want to accomplish? What do they want to prove? Is it something to themselves? Is it something to their spouse? Is it something to someone else? My first sales job, I had a very good manager who knew that it wasn't the sales I was making. I wanted to prove something to my father. My father was a farmer. My mother was a first grade teacher. They didn't have a great view of selling. They weren't that proud that their son was out in a sales job. So I wanted to show my dad that I could make it and I could be a top salesperson. I could do well at that. And that manager was smart because he knew how to drive that passion in me, that that's what I really wanted. It wasn't the numbers. So ask. Ask questions about them, their personal goals, and also their professional goals. But then secondly, listen. Listen to words, tone of voice, body language. What are they really saying between the lines? How many times have you had a meeting with a manager and you thought something could be done to you instead of for you? The manager's going to beat you up. You didn't hit your numbers, didn't hit your quota, didn't have enough calls, weren't selling the right amount of product. What environment are you creating that's a safe environment so you can get to the truth? One of the key things in selling is to have an environment where the customer can tell you what the real deal is. How hard is it sometimes to find out what the truth is, what the customer really wants, so you can show how you can fill those needs? Same thing with coaching. Have an environment so you can listen, so you can figure out what the real deal is. So ask, listen, then third, finally, then coach. But don't coach 10 different things. I had a manager, my worst manager, when he rode with me the first day, I didn't know what it was going to be about. All I knew is he had a yellow pad and he took lots of notes all day long. He was just writing furiously, lots of pages. At dinner that night, I found out that his idea of coaching was to tell me every single thing that I did wrong and give me about 50 things I ought to correct. Well, there are things we probably all need to correct, but what's maybe 1 or 2 things to coach to and put a plan in place to do that. Number 4 is to praise. It doesn't have to be there. It could be all the way throughout, but to praise people for specific things. And not just the numbers and details, but to praise for what's really important to them. And finally, then challenge. Step 5 is to challenge people to hit higher goals, that they can do more, to see more in people than they see in themselves, and set an environment where they believe that you believe they can hit that. And then finally, follow up. Follow up and hold them accountable for what they've committed to. So that's a simple 5-step process with preparation and follow-up that hopefully you can go back and implement with your people.